Good morning, and thanks for joining me. We're at the lovely seaside town of Forte dei Marmi, which is about 2.5 hours from Sant'Agata Bolognese, which is the home of Lamborghini. And we are here for one final blast in the entire Huracan family. Now, if you're particularly up to date on your Lamborghinis, you'll know the Huracan was launched in 2014. I was actually at the launch of the car back then. That was at the Ascari racetrack in southern Spain. And we blasted around Malaga. But 10 years is a long time, and the car has evolved a lot. But this is basically the final blast we're going to have, because next year the old new replacement comes. So the Huracan family, as it is now, comprises 4 models. We have the Evo Spyder, we have the STO, we have the Sterrato, and the Tecnica. So the Evo Spyder is the only drop-top version of the Huracan remaining. All-wheel drive, 640 horsepower. Then we have the STO, which is the hardcore track-focused variant with the extremely aggressive aero, bone-jarring suspension. Then we have the Sterrato, which is actually an all-surface supercar, shall we say. So it's pretty adept at tackling gravel roads, but it's also pretty capable on tarmac as well. Gets very aggressive Bridgestone dual all-terrain tires. And last but not least is the Tecnica, which is a slightly toned-down version of the STO. So it has less aggressive aero. Also the suspension is a bit less aggressive. So that is the way of introduction of these cars, and so much evolution has taken place over the past decade that these are almost an entirely different car from the Huracan that launched in 2014. So now let's jump in and take a spin and find out which is the best one. Right, so I'm setting off first in the Huracan STO, and in many ways this is the most extreme version of the Huracan. It's designed for one thing, to go fast on a racetrack. And I have driven this on a racetrack. I drove it at Nardo in November 2020, actually before the car's launched. And it's epic on a racetrack. There's just so much grip, huge amount of grip, tremendous braking, sits incredibly flat. But this does come at a cost, and the cost is what you experience on real-world roads like this, because ride quality is extremely harsh. You wouldn't possibly contemplate driving this on a day-to-day basis. It's probably just too extreme for that. Also, you have very little clearance. There's a front splitter which sits very low to the ground, so you always have to be mindful of speed humps and parking nose to tail, sort of nose to curb rather. Also, I have zero visibility out the back. The louvres and that big snorkel, or that central air scoop which runs down the middle, completely obscures rearward visibility. So yeah, not ideal for real world roads. Also, I find the looks a little bit too extreme for my liking. It's a bit too boy racerish, but that said, it is in many ways an absolutely epic driver's car, especially when you get it on the right piece of tarmac, smooth piece of road. Then it really is something to behold. But yeah, as an everyday proposition, I don't think that this is the Huracan you would choose to have. There's just no other supercar which has a soundtrack like this. It's magnificent. Just makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Yeah, just bloody beautiful. So this is the thing, when you have the STO on the right piece of road, it is really magnificent. So Now we're out in the Sterrato, which in many ways is probably the craziest variant of the Huracan range, because just the notion of turning a supercar into something that's, let's say, off-road friendly to a degree, it seems a bit crazy on paper. But the surprise is that it actually works really well in the real world. This is undoubtedly the most comfortable and most supple riding Huracan of all of them. This road we're traversing is awful. It's lumps and bumps and potholes everywhere. But the fact that it's riding on softer suspension, it sits 44 millimeters higher, which means there's also extra clearance, so you don't have to slow down to a crawl for speed bumps and so forth. So it's actually very usable, and if you ask me, this is probably the most sensible version of the Huracan if you're going to own it and drive it day to day. It's quite supple. You know, my eardrums aren't being deafened by the soundtrack, which in the STO, extremely noisy and just bone-hard suspension. So you really wouldn't entertain the thought of driving that every day. But yeah, this is actually very user-friendly. It's could easily use this as a daily driver. And yeah, the looks might not be to everyone's taste with those sort of tack-on, bolt-on wheel arch extensions, but I think if the color choice is very, how would I put it, crucial with this car, because I think if you get a good color combination, then it can actually look quite decent. So yeah, I think you just need to choose carefully, and if you do that, then you can actually make the Sterrato look quite reasonable. So yeah, I think this is the biggest surprise packet of all the Huracans. Very usable, very easy to live with, and yeah, you'd have no problems at all driving this every day. It's really very user-friendly. And for example, going off-road a little bit here to turn the thing around, even though there's a drop-off of a good few millimeters, there's no issues with clearance. Let's turn it around. Yeah, the only problem is rearward visibility is absolutely crap. You can't see anything out the back, because as with the STO, that louvre and the snorkel running up the center of the spine completely obscures rearward vision. So that's a bit of a minus, but aside from that, very easy to live with. Yeah, very, very supple suspension, easy to drive. Your grandmother could drive this quite easily. So yeah, big thumbs up, I think. 1,499 of these, and apparently they sold out in 2 days. So if you want one, you can't have one because they're gone. And I was talking to one of the Lamborghini folks, and he said actually they could have built probably double the number and easily sold that. So yeah, so quite an interesting novelty, and yeah, I'd say I'm a fan of this car. I think it's and having driven this on gravel as well, it's a lot of fun to drive on gravel. You can really slide it around. It's very user friendly. No nasty surprises. Quite manageable. So yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of this car, and even over this nasty bit of road, it's soaking it up quite nicely. Yeah, still get that lovely V10 soundtrack. Oh boy, we're gonna miss this when it's gone. This is the last of the pure combustion Lamborghinis. superb. Here we are in the Tecnica. So this is also a model that in many ways hits the sweet spot in terms of being a nice balance between day-to-day usability and also hardcore track capability. So it gets a lot of the stuff that the STO gets. So it's rear-wheel drive, 640 horsepower, gets also aggressive suspension settings, but not quite as aggressive as the STO. So like this is an awful bit of road, but it's a little bit more compliant. In fact, I just came up this hill in the STO, and already I can tell this is a lot more compliant. Also on the outside, the bodywork is a lot less shouty. The STO, with all its scoops and wings and air intakes and so forth, it's a little bit over the top for a car that you'd contemplate using day to day. But this, I think, is very nice. In many ways, this is maybe the purest looking Huracan. It retains the sort of the purity of the original shape. Just a few aero elements thrown in here and there. But basically it's kind of, I wouldn't say understated. No Huracan is understated, but it's reasonably tasteful. So, and then if you do a good color selection in this car, then I think it can be quite an attractive package. This particular one is bright yellow, which is a bit shouty, but I don't mind it actually. So it's quite eye-catching. I think of the cars assembled here, it's one of the ones that got a lot of looks. So and that V10 engine, I mean, I just can't say enough about it, because especially that's the sound that you just don't get anywhere else in the supercar world. And it's such a shame that this engine won't be with us for too much longer, because towards the end of next year, the Huracan will be phased out. The all-new replacement comes in, which, as has been reported, is more than likely to be a twin-turbo V8 hybrid. So I'm sure, as Lamborghini has done with the Revuelto in lifting the performance of that car versus the Aventador by a huge margin, I'm sure that'll be the case with the Huracan replacement as well. But we all will miss this V10 engine. It's totally unique sound that is just not replicated anywhere else. It's really magnificent. I think it's one of my favorite engines out of anything on offer. So there we have it. I think we can, that's a quick spiel. I'll just loop back around. This is slightly easier to reverse and maneuver into tight parking spots because you don't have that thing, the big louvres and the air intake obscuring your vision rearwards. So that makes this also a lot more usable than the STO, and also the Sterrato, which also has the big snorkel going up the middle at the back, and the louvres, which really block your rearward vision. So in those two cars you really can't see anything, but this one is pretty good, pretty comfortable as well. It's the seats in the STO are a little bit too aggressive and not as comfortable as these. So this is a car in which you could quite comfortably entertain doing a long trip. I think in the STO I don't think you'd be too happy after 4 or 5 hours in the seat of that. But this is quite manageable. Let's just listen to some sound. Here we are in the Huracan Spyder, which many serious purists might poo-poo this car because they say, well, a supercar should really have a fixed roof to get the best out of it. Obviously, when you take the roof off, you lose some structural rigidity. But I have to say, yes, okay, this is probably not as stiff a car as its fixed roof siblings, but you know, for day-to-day driving and even for a fast thrash down a country road, you're not really going to notice the loss of structural rigidity so much. Of course, on a racetrack you probably will, but I don't think too many owners will be tracking these regularly. So it's more a car to be enjoyed in settings like this. You know, beautiful fall colors. It's now October, so we're on the way to winter, towards winter. Leaves are shedding their leaves. So yeah, in this kind of environment, you can really enjoy a car like this with the top down and you really savor all the sights and smells around. And it's it's really quite wonderful. Now, I don't know if you can see these blue and white seat, the upholstery trim in this car. Bit loud for my tastes. I think I'd sort of go with something maybe a bit more subdued. I think there's nothing wrong with just having tanned leather, but maybe I'm just old-fashioned. But yeah, I think this is, if you've got a garage full of supercars, then I think at least one of them should be a convertible. And if you're going to have a convertible, then you may as well have one that sounds like this. Yeah. So I keep raving on about that V10 engine. But yeah, you can really hear it. Oh, that's laugh out loud material. You can really hear it and savor the fullness of that V10. Yeah, just superb. Magnificent sound. How good is that? Not the greatest weather, but we made the most of it anyway. So this is the last Huracan variant I'm driving today. A day in which we've savored the full spectrum of the Lamborghini Huracan portfolio. A final hurrah for Lamborghini's magnificent V10 supercar. So, there we have it. We've now been for a drive in all 4 Huracan variants. So the answer to which is the best one? Well, it depends what you want to do, really. If you really enjoy your alfresco motoring, then obviously the Evo Spyder. The STO is great, but that's only for people who do regular track days, because I think for day-to-day use it's a little bit too extreme, too harsh. For me, and then of course the Tecnica is a nice happy medium, because you get a lot of the aggression of the STO, but without the over-the-top aero or the extremely bone-jarring ride. But if you ask me, the best day-to-day Huracan is the Sterrato, because you have a lot of clearance, 44 millimeters of extra ground clearance, which means you don't have to slow down to a crawl over speed humps and driveway entrances and so forth. The ride is compliant, And of course, your journey doesn't end if a gravel road comes your way. So for me, the best day-to-day variant is the Sterrato, but of course each of them has their own charm. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.